Brother, welcome to today's video. I want to share with you 12 lessons when it comes to becoming a better man that I've learned over these last 7 to 8 years. There's a little bit of a war on masculinity, right? Men are getting shamed for being men, and this is something that we all have to be conscious of. And in this video, I want to share with you some things that have helped me navigate the world as a man who was someone who didn't really have the best role models growing up, and a lot of the things I had to go on, I had to figure out by myself. And my hope is that this will help one person become a better man, or at least change their perspective, or make them feel like they are not alone. Because as a man, the life that we choose to live, if we are in this pursuit of entrepreneurship or development, it can be lonely, and I get that. So I have some things written down in my journal here, and I would love to share them with you. 12 lessons, and I'm going to share some personal stories as well along the way. It's going to be uncut, it's going to be a little bit messy, but that's the way I want to communicate this with you, because I think it's actually going to be raw, transparent, and actually real. So the first thing, let's jump into it, right? I have written down here, understand where you are, and that understand that you're always transforming. This was a key lesson for me, because I thought that the way that I was back a couple of years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago, I was just the way that I was, and I couldn't change. I was stuck in negative thinking. I was addicted to smoking weed. I was drinking a lot of alcohol, and I was hanging around with people that I thought were my friends, but a lot of them turned out to not be. And I thought that my life was always going to be this way. And I know that may seem a little bit stupid, but I think we can get very stuck in our thinking to think that we are the way that we are, and we can't change, or we can't transform our lives in some way. No matter where you are right now in your life, whether you are somewhere around the world where things aren't the best in terms of the place that you live, whether it is, maybe things are going really well for you, you can always change who you are. You can always transform your identity. You can always start fresh. And every day is actually a fresh start, as cliche as it might sound. And this was one of the biggest lessons for me, because when I was so stuck in negative thinking, and I was so stuck in, consumption of my own thoughts, and I couldn't really grasp what was happening around me, I realized over time that I can change anytime that I wanted to. And all it takes is a snap decision to do that. And when you realize that, you can actually intentionally start to change your life the way that you want it, and take control over it, and lead the direction in a new way. And it's going to follow into the next point, which is travel and to spend time alone. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do it, and that I created a life where I can do this willingly. So when I was building my agency, in the beginning, my goal was to make 10K a month, make 6 figures, and travel the world. And I was able to accomplish that. And throughout this period, I spent a lot of time alone, and I still do. But I enjoy the time in solitude, because I feel like I can reflect on my thoughts, I can reflect on who I am, I can reflect on who I'm becoming. And I think it is really, really important to be comfortable by yourself, because at the end of the day, we don't have anybody else except ourselves, right? And that may sound a bit negative, but at the end of the day, if you like and you enjoy spending time with yourself, because you've actually built a relationship with yourself, and you do love yourself, you respect yourself, you value yourself, spending time with yourself is pretty fun. I enjoy it now, even though I didn't before. I used to be always craving to be around people. I used to always want to be meeting up with friends, or people I thought who would entertain me, to take me out of my own mind, because I wasn't able to manage my own thoughts. I wasn't able to manage my own emotions. So spending time alone and traveling and actively seeking that discomfort has really, really served me well in the growth of my character, in the growth of who I am, how I value myself. And it opened up all of these different challenges and opportunities that I had no choice but to solve. Now, I'll give you a short example where, when I first moved to Lisbon, Portugal, which is 2 years ago now, I went over, and I had, 1 or 2 grand saved up, something like that, but it was in different places, and I wasn't really one thing, so I didn't really have much to fall back on. And I put myself in a position where I put my back against the wall. I had to take massive action. I had to make things and figure things out. And no, I'm not saying that you should go and do that, because it was, probably not the smartest decision, but it led me to take massive action on the things that I needed to do, and to really be able to get results. And a couple of months later, I was able to hit my first 5K a month, and from there I grew to 10K a month, and I was able to move around and travel and be a little bit more free. So I put my back against the wall. And on that time as well, I was also by myself. I didn't have anybody to turn to. So I was forced to go out and to communicate with people, to make friends, to go on dates, and to speak to people who were a completely different nationality to me, and that made me comfortable with communicating with people in different ways, which helped me build my character, which translated into business and relationships and everything else that comes with that. So that was my second biggest lesson, is like, thank God I spent some time to travel and to spend some time alone as well. I think they really go hand in hand. So that's number two. Number three I have written down here is that you need a vision. We love to talk about goals and talk about different things that we want to do in our life, and that's amazing. It's all so important. But at the end of the day, we need to have a vision, and a vision is not a goal. A vision is the big picture, right? What does it look like for you to be in the best position you can possibly be in life? What does that actually look like? What is the income that you're making? Who do you wake up as? Who do you wake up next to? Right? Who do you spend time with? Do you have kids? What does your house look like? Where do you spend your time? What does your ideal day look like? Where do you spend your hours? How much do you work? All of these little nitty gritty things is the overall vision for what we want our life to look like. But we can have visions for different things. You can have a specific vision for your type of relationship that you want, the type of woman that you want to be with, the type of vision that you have for yourself as a man, right? These are the things that I was always very unclear about, and that led me to move in a scattered manner, and I wasn't able to actually really get much done because I didn't really know where I was going. Now I'm constantly coming back to my vision. Am I stepping into the person that I want to be? Am I taking those steps forward? Am I getting clear about where I want to be going? And am I on that path, right? No matter what it is in life. And it all can intertwine with each other. And the clearer that you get on this, the more that you have the power to say no to things that are not that. Because in a world where we have so many different choices, we have so many different things that we could say yes to, we want to say no to the majority of these things that we do not want in our life, that are not in alignment with who we want to be, where we want to be, or the things that we want to do. We're spoiled for choice, so we need to be able to have things to say no to so that we can say yes to the things that actually matter. And that is tied to your vision. Okay, so that's number three. Number four, you must realize that you are solely responsible for everything in your life. I heard a quote before, I can't remember who said it, but it may not be your fault, but it's definitely your problem, right? Sometimes we can't change the circumstances that we have in our life, and things may not be going the way that we want them to go, or the place that we find ourselves in is not exactly in our control, but we can control how we face it. And this was a big realization for me, because a lot of my early teens I spent in a victim mentality. I thought that the world was out to get me. I was complaining about the way my life was, or the people that were in it, or the way I was getting treated, when at the end of the day it was all down to me to respond to that. But I was just reacting to it, and I was giving away my own masculine power to everything that was outside of myself. And this led me to feel powerless. It led me to feel undervalued, and it was a really tough time. But it was tough because I made it tough. If I just took responsibility for those things, stepped up, I would have been able to control what I could control, which is my character, my values, how I show up, and how I respond to those things. So if you feel like you're ever feeling like a victim, take ownership over your situation. It may not be your fault, but it's definitely your problem. That's number five, or number four. Number five is to tap into your dark side. This is something that took me a while to learn, but as I studied psychology more, I understood that we all have a dark side. Carl Jung is a Swiss psychiatrist who talked a lot about the shadow. I have another video that you can watch on that. But this is an interesting concept, because we grew up in a society, specifically as men, where we're told to dial it back, be nicer, right? Don't speak up, don't really, don't be too loud, don't be aggressive, all of these different things. And of course, those rules have their place. But at the end of the day, for us to be truly in our masculine, for us to be truly confident and purposeful and have conviction in what we say, we need to be able to tap into our aggressive side. We need to be able to get angry at the shit that's going on in our lives. Not in a way where we start to go crazy and start to, get caught up in emotion, but in a way that we can control that anger and direct it in the purpose that we have in our lives, the vision that we have built, right? You see how all of these things intertwine with each other. And the shadow, the biggest thing that I can think of when it comes to the shadow self, is that we all have this kind of persona that we present to the world, but there's an underlying persona and character that we have inside of us, that if we can tap into and integrate into our lives, we become whole and we become very true and authentic into who we are. And that's when we can really deeply connect with people. That's when we can really deeply connect with ourselves. And that's where we feel true masculinity, true purpose, true congruency, because we're not hiding behind a mask that we're presenting to the world. We're actually being raw, we're being authentic, we're being real. And this is one of the most important things that you could ever start to do, is to think of what are the things that are, maybe not, I'm not too aware of, but what are the things in my life that I'm kind of avoiding, right? Those parts of you, those desires, those thoughts that you have that you don't want to associate with. Maybe acknowledge them. Maybe explore them a little bit. Tap into your aggressive side. When you feel angry, how do you let that out? Don't bottle it up. I used to do that. I used to bottle it up. I used to hold it back, and it just caused conflict within me, right? Because it will find an outlet. It will find some other way to show up, and that could come up in some strange ways. I have a deeper video that will go into detail on that, so you can understand that more. But what I'm saying here is that if you feel like you're too nice, if you feel like you're not really getting what you want, integrate that aggressive side of yourself. Allow yourself to feel those emotions. Let them flow through you. Don't be crazy. Don't start doing some mad shit. But integrate that side into yourself. Allow yourself to feel those emotions and channel it into building your vision and pursuing your purpose. Right? So that's the next one. The next thing I want to go into is be mindful of deception. Right? Deception, fears, past events, things that come up in our lives that we hold on to. The things that like self-sabotage, procrastination, fears that come up, right? These are all areas that I call deception, where we deceive ourselves. We're not really being congruent. We're not being clear. We can't move forward. And usually this is from past events or things that have happened in our lives where we are holding on to those emotions, and it's shifting our view of reality to be false, where it's not clear, right? And the best way I found to do this is to think of an event in your life, something that is perceived to be negative, okay, or a fear that you have. And what we want to do is have to actually have a look at to see how can we balance these two perspectives. Because when we see things as negative, we're only seeing one side of the equation. When if you think about it, right, if you understand the principle of polarity, everything in the universe, everything in the world has an equal and opposite when it comes to positive and negative, which means that the perceived negative that you're looking at or you're finding also has positives there, because everything is always just neutral. Okay, and that's a profound insight. That's something that when I realized this, changed every past event, and I did the inner work and I reframed these different things because I understood the polarity between these different events that I was holding on to. For example, if you have something where somebody did something to you in your life, right, and maybe you were bullied, maybe something happened to you when you were in school or you were a teen or you were growing up, whatever the case was, and that's perceived to be negative in your mind, and you hold on to that and you feel let down because of it, or anything that comes up for you, how can you find the positives in that? How can you balance that whole perspective so that you can now see the negatives and the positives, and you can see it for what it is, which is neutral? Because there's benefits in all of these different things in our life. If you think about the worst thing that has ever happened to you, did it cause you to start looking for self-improvement? Did it help you journal? Did it start to help you be more introspective? Did that lead you into you getting into business? Did that lead into you increasing your skill set? Well, it's not so much of a negative event anymore because it led you to where you are today. And understanding that there's always a positive and there's always a negative, and when we can find a neutrality in everything, this is the biggest lesson, because you can reframe any situation in your life to see it clearly and then move forward with confidence, clarity, and conviction. Okay, so that's the next one. I've lost count. I don't know what one we're on, but the next one is the goal you're truly after is the feeling that you get when you have built up yourself in your mind to be this person, and you say you want to be this guy, and then you do it. It's actually can be so simple sometimes. The most satisfaction that I've ever got in my life, and the biggest lesson I've learned, is that when I set something out to do in a day, in a week, in a month, and I accomplish that, I feel amazing. It's far better than anything that you could get from cheap pleasures or cheap dopamine. You set yourself a target for the day and you hit the target. I'm not saying that you can really control outcomes, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the inputs. If you set certain inputs for your day, you do those things, and then you do a little bit more, I don't think that there's anything more beautiful in a man's life than to actually accomplish something like that on a day-to-day basis. Because why? You feel amazing. You feel in congruency with the person that you say that you are. And when the person that you say that you are and the person you are today aligns and matches, that is true power, because you're congruent. And that's something that nobody can take away from you. That's something that nobody can ever take away from you. That's powerful. So that's the next one. The next one that we want to talk about is keep good people around you. It's so important to have a good network of people, good friends, people who force you to become better, right? This goes for friends, but also goes for women as well. Be very careful of the women that you bring into your life, because it's very easy to get caught up in emotions, right? And I truly believe that men are true romantics, right? We have a ideal version of what we believe a woman should be, of what we believe a relationship should be. And this can, catch you off guard if you don't have a lot of experience with women. And this was something that, happened to me in my early days when I was dating and, getting into relationships and things like that. I got caught off guard and I learned a lot of valuable lessons very, very early on that I've carried and helped me become a better man in the process. But you want to be careful about the people that you let into your life. Always have a vetting period when it comes to the women that you bring into your life, but also friendships as well. Have a 6-month period, right? I know it might seem long, but have a 6-month period where you have somebody in your life. You don't get too emotionally involved, right? And you vet them to make sure that they are high quality. You make sure that they are in alignment with who you want to be. And are they adding value to your life, right? Because if you're going to be this man and you're going to be living up to the expectations that you've set for yourself, you want high quality people around you that are going to lift you up, push you further, not bring you back down, not remind you of past events, not remind you of who you were, remind you of who you are becoming. So that's the next one. Have very high quality people around you. This comes with networking, that comes with putting yourself out there, comes with building a personal brand. You want to be doing all of these things that we talk about on this channel as well and in our free community, right? You want to make sure that everything you do and the people around you, the people you're doing everything with, is in alignment with who you want to become. Okay, so make an effort to connect with those people, network, share things inside a community, share your perspectives, share your ideas, ask for help, ask for feedback. The next one is value yourself higher. When I was starting off in business, I struggled majorly simply because I could not value myself. Now, of course, I had to learn skills. I had to have some failures. I had to have some things happen so that I could understand the game of business and the things that I was doing. But I got to a point where I didn't value myself. And this affected relationships. This affected the clients that I took on board. This affected how I showed up. Because how you value yourself is the core of everything that you do. Everything stems from that. Because if you don't value yourself, you're not going to show up consistently. If you don't value yourself, you're not going to think that you're worth more money. If you don't value yourself, you're going to let shitty people into your life, right? And as men, we have to build our value. And that takes some time. But that doesn't mean that you can't value yourself today. That doesn't mean that you can't value yourself on the fact that you show up consistently and you're building the skills and you're doing the research and you're putting daily efforts and daily inputs into getting yourself to where you want to be, and you're trying and you're moving forward and you're not who you used to be. Value yourself on that. Don't attach your self-confidence and your self-esteem to the outcome. Do it to the inputs that you have on a day-to-day basis, that you complete, that you stay congruent with, even if it's the smallest thing. That's where you get your value from. And the more you start to value yourself, the more that stacks over time, the more you see yourself better, the more your self-image improves. The better things that come into your life, the better actions that you take that come from that. So that's the next one. Value yourself more. You are worth more. You're here to contribute. You're doing the work on yourself. You're investing in yourself. You're doing all of these different things. That's valuable. You have something to contribute. Make sure that the world knows it. The next one. Do the boring work. The fundamentals have become very, very obvious to me over these last 2 or 3 years as I was traveling and working with different clients. Doing the fundamentals is the foundation of everything. There's so many shiny tactics and shiny strategies and different things that you can do. But if you learn the fundamentals of marketing, sales, of entrepreneurship, of mastering your mindset, if you're learning the fundamentals and you're constantly reaffirming those fundamentals to yourself, you can win, right? The people out there and the business owners out there who master the fundamentals and keep doing the basic things correctly are the ones that see the most success, even when it comes to your finances, tracking your finances, tracking the amount of sales you're doing. That's where you're going to see the success. But the thing is, it's boring, right? Being consistent can be boring. Being consistent can actually make you think that you're not doing the right things when really you're actually just doing the right things. You're just doing them consistently. It's not supposed to be this crazy exciting thing. People on social media will tell you otherwise, but that's not the case. It's doing the boring work. It's mastering the fundamentals. Still something that I'm trying to really master is the fundamentals, and reminding myself of that and not getting distracted from things that are shiny and they look like they're a good idea, but really it's about staying with what is true, what is working, what is the basics, what is the fundamentals that I need to master here. And the very last one is to get guidance, build your network, find a mentor, or find people or a handful of people that you can listen to and take advice from that you believe will help you get to where you want to be. You don't want to be listening to 20, 30, 40 different people. You want to be listening to 5, maybe 6 people that you always refer back to that are in a position where you want to be, and they will help you get there to that next level. Right? You want to join communities that are actually valuable. You want to network with people, put yourself out there. We talked a little bit about personal branding. Putting yourself out there is going to be one of the most valuable things that you do in your life. Right? We also have a free community. You can check that out in the link below. It's completely free, and you can join that and be on this journey with a bunch of people who are on that same path as you. So build your network, put yourself out there, post inside these communities, share your perspectives like we talked about. And that's the very last one, guys. I hope this video was valuable to you. Right, I went through these different things, and there's a million things that I could have talked about, and I might make another video on some of these lessons, but I hope this was impactful for you. I hope this changed your perspective a little bit. I hope this gives you hope that there is a big, better world out there for you, and all you got to do is step into the person who has that, step into the man that you know that you can become, to be able to get that and to be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Well, hopefully these tips were helpful for you. If you have any ideas or comments, put them in the comments below. I'd love to see what your thoughts were as you were watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for being here.